Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please join us today in the study of Srimad-Bhagavatam. Today we'll be studying Srimad-Bhagavatam chapter 6 of second canto, the second part from verse 12 onwards. Hare Krishna, please join us for Jai Radha Madhav prayers. Hare Krishna. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaridhari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaridhari, Yashodanandana Vrajjana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Vrajjana Ranjana, Yamuna Vanachari, Yamuna Vanachari, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, व्रजन रंजना यशोदानंदन व्रजन रंजना यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा डियर डिवोटीज, आप सबका स्वागत है, आप सबका अभिनंदन है। आज की क्लास में आज हम श्रीमद् भागवतम में सेकंड कैंटो का चैप्टर 6 का सेकंड पार्ट कवर करेंगे। अभी तक हमने यूनिवर्सल फॉर्म का डिस्क्रिप्शन सुना था। हरे कृष्णा।
हरि बोल डियर व्यूअर्स। हिमांशु कुमार जी, संगीता शर्मा जी, नीरुदाल जी, माया हरिहनायन जी, हरे कृष्णा। सभी न्यू व्यूअर्स को भी बहुत बहुत अभिनंदन। आप सभी का श्रीमद् भागवतम क्लास में स्वागत है। आज जीव तत्व प्रभु जी कैंटो 2 चैप्टर 6 का सेकंड पार्ट कर रहे हैं। श्रीमद् भागवतम क्लास में वो हर रोज हम सब के लिए बहुत ही मीनिंगफुल और इम्पॉर्टेंट लेसन्स लेके आते हैं। इफ़ यू वांट यू कैन टेक नोट्स, क्योंकि इनमें से कई बार थोड़े से डिफिकल्ट टॉपिक्स होते हैं, लेकिन प्रभु जीव तत्व प्रभु जी मेक्स इट वेरी सिंपल फॉर अस, so you can take your time later on to read the purports. So let us join Jiva Tattva Prabhu ji with Srimad-Bhagavatam Nectar. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please join us for Mangalacharan prayers. We'll sing them together. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiriyet Shravam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shamana Kirtanaha Hridayantasto Bhadrani Vidunoti Suhasatam Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatir Uttam Loke Bhaktir Bhavti Naishtiki. Hare Krishna. Please join us in the recitation of verse 12 of Srimad-Bhagavatam 2nd Canto, Chapter 6. Purusha Sukta confirmed. Dharmasya mama tubhyam cha kumaranam bhavasya cha vijnanasya cha sattvasya parasyatma parayanam. Srimad-Bhagavatam, 2nd Canto, Chapter 6, Verse 12. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. All the consciousness of that great personality is the abode of religious principles. Mine, yours, and those of the four bachelors, Sanak, Sanatan, Sanat Kumar, and Sanandana. That consciousness is also the abode of truth and transcendental knowledge. Hare Krishna. There is no purport. So please join us for Guru Pranati. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshitarine Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripa Tadaham Vande Shri Gurum Deenataranam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So, today's class is going to focus on our vision in Krishna consciousness. So, in the previous class, yesterday that we covered, the main aspect is given the very translation of, previous verse, where everything is present in Lord Krishna's universal form with respect to this material nature. So that is an important aspect. So everything that we see in material nature, we can see in that universal form. And this whole description of universal form is actually trying to tell us that Lord, He is the source of all material as well as spiritual universes. And in Bhagavad Gita, when we see this universal form of the Lord Shri Krishna, so this universal form has been described in this chapter and the previous chapter. Krishna is the cause of all causes was the topic of previous chapter, and this chapter the topic was Purusha Sukta confirmed that Lord Krishna is the source of everything, right? He is the source of all material universes and spiritual universes. And Lord Krishna also says in the very first shloka of Chatushloki Gita, right? Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattah sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. So Lord Krishna, He reveals Aham sarvasya prabhavo. He is saying that, Lord Krishna is identifying that He is the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from Him. And the wise, right, the intelligent persons who perfectly know this, engage in Lord Krishna's devotional service and worships Him with all their hearts. So Prabhava is the source of generation. So who's the source of generation of all material and spiritual universes? Lord Krishna. He is the source. So everything emanates from Him. And Sarvam, everything, and Pravartate, so everything is emanating from Him. He is the source of all generation and everything is emanating from Him. Yet we have to understand with the right perspective that just because everything is emanating from Him and He is further entering into everything does not make everything Krishna. We have to understand that these are the energies of Krishna and then there is Krishna. So the potent and His potencies. And so even when people look at, oh, Lord Krishna's back is, that's where all the frustration, all the immortality, all cheating and all the negative factors are there. So in the universal form, they are there. which is an expansion of Lord Krishna. So he is further expanding and his three energies forms, right? And what are the three energies? External energy is Mahamaya, is represented by who? Goddess Durga. Then internal potency, right? External potency is Mahamaya. Internal potency is, his Haladini Shakti, his pleasure giving potency. We'll also talk about Samvit and others, and Sandhini Shakti. So that is in the spiritual universe. So that is managing all the spiritual universes, all the affairs and Lord's pastimes. And then Tatashta Shakti. And who is Tatashta Shakti? We, living entities. Yes, Jivera Suruphoya Kṛṣṇa Nityadas. So we living entities are Tatashta Shakti, Kṛṣṇera Tatashta Shakti, Ved Abhed Prakash. So now we have to start looking at it from Krishna conscious vision, that all our happiness is in serving Lord Shri Krishna, because that is our constitutional position, that is our Sanatan Dharma, as Kṛṣṇera Nityadas, as an eternal servant of Lord Krishna. But we are born in this material world because we took shelter of the material energy. So we get this body and we become conditioned, right? So when we become conditioned thinking, I am this body, everything that relates to this body is mine, aham mameti. So this becomes the cause of our anxiety, the cause of our worries, the cause of all the fears that surround us, which makes us come up with all the negative qualities. So we are actually looking at Lord from the back. We cannot see his beautiful shining face. So in the universal form, we are looking at his back, where the frustration is there and all the negative qualities they arise. Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Mad, Matsara, lust, anger, greed, pride, delusion and envy. These are the 6 vices in this material world. And from this, when we get conditioned and we engage because of the influence of the 3 modes of material nature. And what are the 3 modes of material nature? Mode of goodness, Sattva Guna, mode of passion, Rajaguna, mode of ignorance, Tamoguna. So these 3 modes, they influence us to behave accordingly. And so this is with respect to the body. So the body, that we also get is coming from who? From material energy. And material energy is under the instruction of who? Under the control of who? None other than Lord Shri Krishna. She is not in our control. Maya adhyakshena prakriti suyase chacharacharam. Right? So Lord Krishna says that it is under his control, and all living entities who are moving and non-moving. So we embodied living entities are existing here. And also, sometimes people say, well, I don't understand this aspect because I'm doing everything. I'm the one who's causing all things to happen. Then there is another instruction Lord Krishna says that is a delusion, right? That is also a negative quality, right? So that delusion is basically prakate kriyamanani gune karmani sarvashah ahankara vimuddhatma kartaham iti manyate. Lord Krishna reveals this to Arjuna, that prakate kriyamanani gune karmani sarvasha. Everything is done in prakriti, in this material nature, by the influence of the 3 modes of material nature, right? Sattva guna, Rajaguna, Tamoguna. So these guna also means ropes. So we are actually bound by ropes. But ones who are proud in delusion, ahankara is one who is very proud in the heavy influence of false ego. Vimuddhatma means mudhas ho gaya, means they have become like dull-minded persons, because of pride. And pride causes this, right? Lust, anger, and greed, these are the 3 gates to hell. So pride causes us to forget the reality. And in that deluded state, vimuddhatma, so the personalities who get bewildered and because of being proud, they think karta ham iti manyate, that I am the doer, I am the one who's causing everything to happen. So we have to understand that everything has been provided. We living entities have to take shelter, jivas have to take shelter either of Mahamaya or of Yogamaya. We either take shelter of Durga Devi or we take shelter of Radharani. So that choice is given. And this is not like we worship these, but actually under whose jurisdiction we are working. Now, sometimes people try to understand this and they still get bewildered, because Lord Brahma said that intelligent people can relate everything to the universal form. So yesterday we talked about, the eyes of the universal form. These are sun and moon and other heavenly planets, as how, Lord's, just smelling. So that's where is, coming our the Ashwini Kumaras, the doctors of the demigods, and it is also the source of all kind of, herbs, the medicinal herbs and so forth. And the smell comes from there. And similarly, the air, right? All kind of airs that we breathe, comes from the two nostrils. So we can relate. If you are breathing, that is because of, the universal form, Virat Rup ka jo nostrils, say all kind of airs are being generated. We have 5 kinds of air circulating in our body, again, sustaining us. That's why we call it as Prana Vayu, right? The airs, the 5 kind of airs, they sustain us, they keep us alive, this body. Well, we living entities are eternal, so we never die. But this body is nashwar, right? It takes birth, it gets old, it gets sick, and it dies. So these 4 characteristics, Jan Mrityu Jaravadi Dukha Doshanudashnam. Then why are these considered vices? Why are they considered evil? Is because they cause distress to us. This body causes, anxiety to us. And all kind of fearfulness comes because we are thinking I am this body. But when we understand that actually I am seated on this body, which is a yantra ruhani maya, a machine given to me by the material energy, then we become fearless, because then we realize, oh, so I'm not this body. So who am I? Jiva. I am a living entity. And what is my purpose? My purpose is to be eternally pleased, Lord Shri Krishna. So now we have connected back everything with Lord Shri Krishna. So the universal form is where we can see everything in relationship with Lord Shri Krishna. So when we drink water, then the taste of water, we remember that Lord Krishna is the taste of water. So again, we can see that everything is coming from Lord Shri Krishna. He is such an affectionate father that he is providing us everything. And when we relate everything with him, then we can remember him all the time. And that is the purpose. But sometimes it is difficult for us because we are in a sick state, right? When we are inflicted with jaundice of this material condition, significance of aham and mameti, that is also something. Thing, because when we think various kind of designations that are out there, and mamete is mine, right? Which lusty. And this reminds me of an incident where Srila Prabhupada, one day he was very nicely in Vrindavan, talking to Yamuna Mataji, and he said, well, are you teaching other ladies how to do cooking? So one of his disciples, she was also a cook. She's like, no, Srila Prabhupada, she is not teaching us how to cook nicely. Then Srila Prabhupada said, oh, you should. Whatever you learn in Krishna consciousness, you should pass it to others. Otherwise, it will make you envious, right? And in material world, we see that this is very much prevalent, that people, when they acquire some position, some knowledge, and then they don't share with others, then they become very envious. And instead of continuing to progress further in their stream, they focus on stopping others to get to that similar platform, right? To rise to that platform. But in Krishna consciousness, it is just opposite. A devotee is very happy when he sees another devotee also progressing very nicely, because then we can all work together to please Krishna. And if someone else wants to please Krishna, then it is in our favor, because we are all on the same side. Yet at the same time, sometimes this conditioning causes people to say in this material world that, oh, only I should be doing this, only they should be doing, means my friends should be doing this. This reminds me of a, very nice incident that was shared by a senior Vaishnava in one of the lectures I attended like in 1990s. And it was a very instructive lecture. At that time, is again, he was revealing that how he was participating in various interfaith dialogues, right? And he happened to meet a very nice Christian priest. And this Christian priest, he was saying, so everybody understands Bible? The Christian priest says, yeah, most of the people, but then he paused and he said, actually, now that I pay attention, only, people who are studying this Bible in our region, they understand God, who is God and how to serve him. So, read this Bible, they understand. It's like, no. Maybe not all. My church, at my church, everybody understands God, right? So he says, everybody at your church understands. So he says, no, actually, in this small group, the group of priests, we all understand God. Not everybody understands. So then the question asked is, so everyone in your group understands God? And he thought about it. He says, no. Actually, it's only I who understand God very well. Others don't understand very well. See, this is conditioning. This is where, aham mameti. So I understand. This becomes envious, right, to others. So we should be very, very careful. While in Krishna consciousness, it is just the other way around. Everybody takes this acharyas. They show us by their own example that, when Narottam Das Thakur, he is singing, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Karo More Tum bin ke dayalu Jagat samsare Pavana hetu Tava avataro Mosama patita Prabhu Napai bearo. So he's singing, what is not? Hare Krishna. So again, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's, Narottam Das Thakur, he is revealing that, I am the most fallen. So we understand that we are supposed to take the mood of Dasanudas. We are a servant of the servant of the servant. And that would make Lord very happy. We should definitely, work with the devotees to encourage in pleasing Krishna and encourage others, innocent public, to come to Krishna consciousness, because Krishna consciousness is amazing. It is very pleasing when we serve together in, to please Lord Shri Krishna, to make him happy, and that would also satisfy us. So mameti, now the mameti aspect, if we focus on we become envious. That's the first lesson. Now the second lesson is, if we are thinking of mine, that this is mine and that is mine, right? So that causes envy. So we should not be envious. That causes lust, and we should not become lusty, because Kamesha, Krodesha, Rajoguna Samudbhava, Mahashano, Mahapapma, Vidya Enam, Iha Varenam. So Kamesha, Krodesha, from lust, anger arises. And from anger, which is in the mode of ignorance, we fall down. So lust is our dire enemy. We should understand. So Lord Krishna is revealing this to us. And in this mood, we can continue to understand that everything has been provided to us in the service of Lord Shri Krishna. So everything should be dovetailed in serving Lord Krishna. That should be the focus. That we are all together here to please Lord Krishna. We are here to, cooperate with each other so that Lord is happy and sing His glories. Simply, which is starting with the chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rāma, Rāma Rāma, Hare Hare. So, in this manner, we can continue to, be away from envy and lust. And lust, anger, and greed, these are the three gates to hell. So, we don't want to be going in that direction. Rather, our direction is Param Dhama, right? Not stay in this material world. Srila Prabhupada used to say that this material world, this material universe is not a place for gentlemen or ladies. So, because it is not a place where, being conditioned, people can be happy. And Anand Bhaya Abhyasat, we all want to be happy, and we all become happy when Lord Krishna is pleased, when He is happy, when He is, in our memory, we are constantly remembering Him, we are constantly serving Him. So now, in this verse that we covered today, it is very interesting that Lord Brahma is telling Narad Muni, Devashi Narad, about three personalities. So here, this is where Lord Brahma is revealing to Devashi Narad that he is not the cause of all causes, Krishna is the cause of all causes. And how Krishna also, is the cause of Mahavishnu, who is lying in the ocean, and Mahavishnu, who is Karno Dakshai Vishnu, or also known as Karno Vakshai Vishnu, because the ocean on which he is lying is Karan ocean, causal ocean. And from his breathing and the pores of his body are emanating various universes, and he further expands into each universe as Garbhodakshai Vishnu. And in that, as Garbhodakshai Vishnu, in each universe, from his navel sprouts the lotus flower on which Lord Brahma is born. So Lord Brahma does not have a material father or mother. That's why he is also known as Aja, one who has not taken birth, but at the same time, he has received the body as Lord Brahma, and he is doing the creation after he has been endowed with that knowledge. Now he continues to describe how exactly that process is, and we'll see that, again he will pick it up in chapter 8 of second canto. But this is where, he is revealing, and Devashi Narad is surprised because he did not know that Lord Krishna, the Lord, he is constantly praying. So the verse that we covered today, the three categories of personalities identified. Lord Brahma, who can see the Lord in his heart as a yogi. So he is able to meditate, directly see Lord in his heart. Devashi Narad is a devotee, is a bhakta. So he constantly serves Lord Krishna. He is constantly, Manmana bhav badbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi satyam te pratijane priyasi me. Lord Krishna reveals in Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter, 65th verse, that how do we take to being a devotee? Manmana bhav madbhakto. Manmana is always think of me. Madbhakto, become my devotee. Madhyaji, worship me. Mam namaskuru, pay obeisances unto me. So you will come back to me. I promise you this. So he's actually telling us that the process of Krishna consciousness is so easy. And to be able to see Lord Krishna everywhere in the beginning when it is difficult, then we have to understand our sorry state. And so we can relate to the universal form, that everything is coming from Him. Everything is in the universal form that we see in this material world. Good things as well as bad things. Like bad things at the back of the Lord and good things are in the front. So we can relate to it. Even the water, rasa, the taste of water is Krishna, right? And the sound is again coming from sky, ether. And the source of sky is again Krishna. So everything is emanating from Him. Aham sarvasya pavo matta sarvam pravartate. And the three personalities is Lord Brahma is, he can see Lord Krishna in his heart, so he's as a yogi. Devashi Narada devotee, and then the Chatur Kumars, the four sons of Lord Brahma, which is Sanat Sanatan, Sanat Kumar, and Sanandana. So they in the beginning were Brahmavadis. They were the impersonalists. They were thinking that Brahma Jyoti is the ultimate truth. Afterwards, when they went, in Vaikuntha, and they were stopped by Jai Vijay on the 7th gate, before they were to enter into Vaikuntha, on the 7th gate, at that time they got to see Lord Vishnu. And then they realized that actually the Supreme Personality is a person, the Supreme is a person, not Brahmajyoti. Brahmajyoti is just an effulgence from the body of that person. So when they understood that way, then they became devotee. But they initially were looking at it this way. And there is a verse that in the first chapter of first canto we discuss. Vadanti tattva vidas tattvam yajnanam avyayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagwan iti shabdyate. So the learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth. So again the difference is, Srila Prabhupada is identifying that absolute truth is the subject matter of study in Srimad-Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. There are many issues, right? Many controllers, different category of controllers. But there is only one absolute truth. And the learned transcendentalists understand absolute truth in three forms. Brahman, the Brahman effulgence, which is like sunshine. And Paramatma, the super soul in our heart. And Bhagwan, Lord Shri Krishna, the source of everything. He is the source of Brahman, he is the source of Paramatma. And he further expands and also is the source of the Virat Rupa. And all the Purusha avatars, Leela avatars, Yuga avatars, right? All these various kind of avatars that we'll be studying in the next chapter. He is the cause of all those avatars. Now, something very interesting is being covered in this particular chapter, where Lord Krishna is revealing that, 75% in this material universe means again, the 75 of all the universes, collective universes, is spiritual universe, and only 25% of the universes is material universe. Now sometimes people get surprised. Why is material universe so small compared to spiritual universe? Well, we have to understand that in spiritual universe, everyone is Nitya Siddha. Everyone is realized soul, self-realized soul. So they are all serving Lord Shri Krishna. They are following his rules and regulations. They are following the rules and regulations of bhakti, of devotion service, and they are doing selfless service, right, in Vaikuntha. And further, then in Param Dham, at Golok Vrindavan, they are not just selfless, but they are self-forgetful. They even forget about themselves. They are constantly singing glories of Lord Shri Krishna and Radharani day and night. And Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, he sings, right, that in many of his songs, in one of his songs he's singing that, oh my dear Lord, how I just am reminiscing on your and Radharani's pastimes, and so he's singing the glories of Radharani. So this is the mood of devotees. But in the material world, we are in a conditioned state, we are in forgetfulness. So that's why in this material world, we are looking from that perspective that, oh, I am this body and I have to, take care of the body, the eat, sleep, mate, defend. These are the propensity even of animals. But in human form of life, we have this rare form of life where we can inquire about the absolute. Atato Brahma Jigyasa. That is the important inquiry that as human beings we should be making. So we should be inquiring, why am I here? Why is there miseries in this material world? Why is bad thing happening to good people? Why is there so much stress in life? Why is there so much unhappiness in this life? Why is there so much violence? Why is there so much envy? Why is so much delusion and darkness in this world? Because Lord Krishna reveals that in his spiritual abode there is no darkness, and it doesn't even need any sun or electricity or fire. Na tad bhasyate suryo na shashanko na pavakaha yad gatva nivartante tad dhama paramam mama. Lord Krishna is saying that in his abode, na tad bhasyate suryo, it doesn't need to be illuminated by a sun. Na shashanko na pavaka. It does not need shashanko, which is like, the moon, or pavaka. Pavaka refers to fire. But in today's time, Srila Prabhupada made it electricity because that's also a transformation of fire as an energy. And so that electricity is what we use to light our homes at night time. So again, he is referring from that perspective. So there is no need for any external light because the effulgence from Lord's body is lighting up all the spiritual worlds. And in the universal form, from the front, if we are in the front of Lordship, then we see light. When we're in the back of the Lordship, on the back is all kind of negative, aspects are there, like forgetfulness, frustration, envy, and so forth. So that's where the darkness is. So Maya is always behind Lord Shri Krishna. She never steps in front. So again, that is also very important to understand. So it is where the three kind of personalities realize the absolute in three forms. Brahman, the effulgence, just like Brahman effulgence, which is like sunshine. Paramatma, the super soul in our heart, and Lord Krishna, the cause of all causes. He is the cause of all the avatars. Sometimes people even say that Bhagwan avatar nahi lete. Means again completely bewildered. And generally this is the thought a Brahmanwadi has. Then they should hear about the pastimes of the Chatur Kumara, Sanak, Sanatan, Sananda, and Sanat Kumar, so that they realize that actually the impersonalists have partial understanding of the absolute truth. Sunshine is caused by the sun globe. And on the sun globe, the real cause of that sun globe to give out sunshine and the existence of sun globe is because of Surya Narayan, the deity of the sun globe. So that similarly, Brahman is, and above that is Paramatma, the super soul, and above the super soul is Lord Krishna, the supreme personality of Godhead. So the original supreme personality of Godhead. So here, Lord Brahma, he talks about the consciousness. And this consciousness, the Krishna consciousness, is also the abode of transcendental truth and transcendental knowledge. That's why in Krishna consciousness, devotional service being referred as Raj Vidya Rajguhyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam. So it is the king of knowledge, it is the secret of all secrets, Rajguhyam. Pavitram, it is purifying. It is not 99.995, no. It is 100% purifying. Pavitram idam uttamam, and it is the best of all. And pratakshvavagmam dharmyam, and one can realize it, one can experience it, one can see the progress when engaging in devotional service. How all the anxieties are going away, all the fearfulness is going away, all the stress is going away, all the anger is going away, all this negativity. Sometimes people say, if I take to Krishna consciousness, will all my diseases be cured? Well, with respect to body, the body has this propensity to its, birth, death, old age, disease. So if you follow Krishna conscious life, then you would be able to control these aspects. Not override, because you cannot stop your birth, you cannot stop your death. Those are going to happen for the body, but you will be able to have prolonged life by having a very sattvic way of living, right? When you eat, then you eat just appropriately. No overeating, no undernutrition. You sleep, you just sleep enough, no oversleeping. So everything is regulated in Krishna consciousness. When we have that vision that this is for my benefit to live a regulated life, then automatically everything falls in place. And another thing that happens in Krishna consciousness is we become prasannatma, right? Brahma bhuta prasannatma. So we become joyful. We are always happy. And na shochati na kankshati. And we do not care about what is in the past. We don't lament about things that could have happened to help us improve in the past. Or we do not even aspire for the future. Na kankshati. Because these cause anxiety, chinta. And chinta chitta ke saman hoti hai, right? So chinta, anxiety in Hindi is very much to chitta. Chitta is the fire at the funeral fire, right? So there is only a dot difference. because this dot represents that while Chitta, the funeral fire, burns our body when we have left the body, but Chinta, the anxiety, burns our body when we are still in the body. So this is more dangerous. We should be very, very careful. But coming to Krishna consciousness, we become free of all kind of anxieties. Right? Sama sarveshu bhuteshi. So then at that point, we don't envy anyone. We look at everyone as living entities, as eternal servant of Lord Shri Krishna. With a difference, we understand that some know it, some don't. Right? So we want to be in the association of those who know it, so that our faith becomes stronger in serving Lord Shri Krishna. And in this manner, we can continue to progress in our journey of going back home, back to Godhead. We want to finish the cycle of birth and death, to go back home where we can be eternally serving Lord Shri Krishna under the care of our mother, who wants us to serve Lord Krishna, not under the care of material energy, Maya, that causes the delusion, forgetfulness, that we forget Lord Krishna, and so we suffer in this material world. So that is the purpose why we want to go back home, back to Godhead. By going back home, we will be always happy. And Mad Bhakti Labhate Param. So in that Brahmabhuta stage, Lord Krishna is saying, a person is constantly engaged in my devotional service. And when we want to engage in devotional service, want to aspire to serve Lord Shri Krishna, we can simply take to this prayer, which is also known as Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So here, Lord Brahma, he is continuing to describe to Devashi Narad that everything is covered in the universal form. All kind of living entities, from the topmost planet, living entities on the topmost planet, to the bottom planet, Patal. Everything is existing in a form, however, the form not exceeding 9 inches. So that kind of like surprises, because that's the size of the Paramatma in human body, in a grown-up, well situated. So not exceeding has been given. So of course, based on different kind of living entities, it may go smaller. Yet at the same time, if Supersoul is in my heart and Supersoul is in your heart, it is the same Supersoul. It is not that he has divided himself. Sometimes people even get confused there. Basically, when you look at sun in different places, people are seeing sun, right? And at noon time, if you ask, where is sun? They will say it's above their head. But, they may be thinking that they have a vision of sun from their perspective, and you have a vision of sun, so the sun is divided. No, sun is one, but to our vision, it appears that we all have. So it appears divided, but is always undivided, and this is because of the inconceivable, achintya potency of Lord Shri Krishna. So again, by his inconceivable potencies, he pervades everywhere. So I know my business, you know your business, but Lord Krishna, he knows everyone's business. So we cannot hide. We can run, but we can't hide. So that is a very important message that we get by understanding the philosophy in Krishna consciousness. Yet at the same time, it is for our benefit to surrender, because then we will be seeing through Krishna conscious vision, and we're seeing that everything is meant to please Lord Krishna. So my benefit is in pleasing Lord Shri Krishna. That's how I will be happy, and how I will be able to overcome all kind of miseries, all kind of diseases, and I'll be cured of this material disease in this material world. So as we continue to pray, once again, Lord Brahma is revealing to Devashi Narad. Devashi Narad is very curiously, very anxiously hearing this amazing revelation, because he had asked this question, that it appears that you are the Supreme Person, but I observe that you are meditating on someone. Are you really the Supreme Person who's creating everything, or are you getting it from someone else? So Lord Brahma revealed earlier that actually I'm getting all this abilities by the mercy of Lord Shri Krishna. And Lord Krishna reveals this to Arjuna, right? Parisham Nishu. So I am the ability in man, Lord Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita. So Lord Krishna says about what we get, what we have to do, what is there in this material world. All those whats are being answered in Bhagavad Gita. But how have been answered in Srimad-Bhagavatam? In Srimad-Bhagavatam, Lord Krishna and his devotees' pastimes are there, where we learn the depth of how to understand that Lord Krishna is the cause of all causes, how he is providing all kind of potencies to different living entities, including Lord Brahma, who is the first most perfect living entity in this material universe. And so he is revealing that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the controller of immortality and fearlessness. Now, sometimes people, when they see this, then they say, oh, so all the negative things are also in the universal form. So that means he's also bad. No, Lord is never bad, right? Just like sun, when it shines, it may shine on a clean ground or it may shine on top of a urine, but it disinfects all the grounds, right? And so just because it's evaporating the urine doesn't mean the sun is bad. Sun is there. It is through sunshine, it's causing these effects of purifying everything. It's giving, Lord is similarly being an affectionate Father, giving everyone an opportunity to come to Him. It is up to us. We can decide to, close ourselves in a, dark room, and we can say that yes, there is no sun, because we have not stepped out of the dark room to see, yes, it is daytime and that the sun has arisen. And in the presence of sun, in the presence of light, we can see everything as it is. So we have to see with Krishna conscious vision to understand the glories of Lord, and that He is transcendental to the three modes of material nature. They are actually under His control. He is not under their control. We have to understand this. And that He is above. So there is no influence of death, of fruitive actions of the material world they have on Him. And it is very interesting that as Lord Brahma is singing the glories, he starts saying that even Lord, it is very difficult to completely glorify Lord Krishna. And Acharya has revealed that many yogis, they try to, assimilate everything about Lord Shri Krishna. But the interesting thing is, as soon as they feel that they have assimilated, Lord Krishna expands. And one wonderful example is Sheshnag, right? Ananta Shesh, he was given the responsibility to carry the material universes on his head. So he's got 1,000 heads, hoods. So again, he's carrying them. But then he asked this question that, I will be carrying these universes on my head, but it may get very heavy after some time, right? I may feel tired. Now, what should I do? How can I rest? So the solution was given. As soon as you have covered the glories of Lord Krishna and his various incarnations, his pastimes, then you can rest. And so from the beginning of these material universes, with his 1,000 mouths, he is singing the glories, and he has not had the chance to have a rest. So such are the glories that nobody can ascertain. And Lord Brahma reveals that just like sky itself does not know its limits, even the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, does not know his limits. So as we understand in this chapter, it goes very technical from some of the aspects, that deathlessness, fearlessness, and freedom from anxiety of old age and disease exist, in this material world. But beyond this material world is 75% is spiritual world. This material world is only 25%. So we are talking about, sometimes people ask, how come this material world is only 25% of the whole creation and the spiritual world is 75%? Very nice example can be given where, if you have a city and there is a jail. So the city is the most part of the city is like, you have marketplaces, you have houses, you have offices, you have streets, you have parks, and so many other facilities. Jail is a small portion, a small building, a small campus maybe, in one side of the city. It is not the major part of the city. And at that place, people who do not follow the rules and regulations of the government, they are put in because they are causing disturbance to general populace, to the citizens. So those people are kept away. So they are in a timeout, right? Now today, instead of calling it jail, they call it correctional facilities. So they need to be corrected. So these facilities are where they're supposed to be correcting, but if we pay attention, these correctional facilities are not really getting much attention, because after somebody goes to these correctional facilities, they come out as a hardcore criminal. They may have gone in even as an innocent person, and then out there, because of the company of all these criminals, they become hardcore criminals. So that's actually not a correctional facility. We have lost some direction there. And that's why devotees, they're also going to these correctional facilities to awaken everyone to please, understand that being good is a great thing. And becoming God consciousness is even greater. And becoming a devotee of the Lord is the ultimate truth. Means that is the purpose of life, that we should all serve God. And when we are serving Lord Shri Krishna, when we are serving God to please Him, then we become, we are loved by everyone and everything looks right to us. And all these anxieties, frustrations, anger, greed, lust, they all leave us. We are able to overcome all these vices of this material world. So that is an important aspect. So here, beyond this, again, so the three planetary systems have been described that we normally, as children in India, we came up with, right? We always heard there is Swarg, then there is Prithvilok, and there is Patal. So they are heavenly planets, they are earthly planets, and they are lower planets, Patal, Sutal, and Talatal, and so forth. So this is only in the material universe. Above this universe, in the spiritual realm, first we see Devi Dham, right? And then we see Vaikuntha planets. And above all the Vaikuntha planets are further abodes of Lord Shri Krishna, like Mathura, Dwarka, and Golok Vrindavan, the topmost planet, where everyone is very lovingly serving Lord Shri Krishna. And so Lord Brahma, he's singing the glories of Lord Shri Krishna, and he's saying that the spiritual world consists of the three-fourths of Lord's energy. It's beyond the material, and world. And Lord says, Yad Gatva Nivartate Tab Dham Paramam Mama. So when one goes back home, back to the spiritual world, then one does not come back, right? So this is where one is able to return back home in a spiritual world, and so there is no death, there is no old age, there is no disease, there is no birth. You appear there and you stay there for eternity. So these are some of the glories of Lord's Dham. So we all want to go to, the spiritual abode that has been identified. And so this is where from the early age itself, Prahlad Maharaj advises that, the children from the age of 5 itself should be given this spiritual education. That doesn't mean if you have become 50 plus, that it's not for us. No, at this very moment, wherever we are in our juncture of life, we should take to Krishna consciousness. We should take to devotional service so that we can purify our existence. And even if we are not able to attain the goal, this is a question in Bhagavad Gita Arjuna had, that what happens to a devotee who is very advanced but has not attained the goal? Or what happens to a devotee who is not so advanced but has failed in realizing, or even coming to an advanced stage? What happens to that devotee who is like a riven cloud, like a lost cloud that has gone in one direction? What does Lord Krishna says? That an advanced devotee will get an opportunity to get a human birth in the family of a transcendentalist, advanced devotees, in the family of advanced devotees. So he would be able to progress from that point onwards. And what about a person who is new? He will be able to take birth in an aristocratic family. After having enjoyed in heavenly kingdoms, he will come back and take birth, get a human birth in an aristocratic family, again getting the opportunities to further progress. So we see that Lord, He protects us. And so in this manner, Lord Brahma is revealing that from the navel comes a lotus flower, and that lotus flower, He was born. And He did not have any sacrificial ingredients, to perform the sacrifices. Now, Yajna, Dan, and Tap, these three things must be performed, Lord Krishna says. And it purifies even the pure souls, right? So sacrifice, austerity, and charity, these three activities must be performed by everyone, because it even purifies the pure souls. So we should always understand this. But how Here Lord Brahma, by his own example, he is identifying that he could not find any of these ingredients when he woke up, when he took birth, when he was awakened in this material universe on that lotus flower that sprouted from the navel of Garbhodakshai Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So again, all Vishnu Tattvas, they are referred to as Supreme Personality of God, not in plural form, because they're expansion. So even though I have my body and then my son has a separate body and a separate living entity, but in case of Vishnu Tattvas, they are all connected with Krishna. So he is the one present everywhere. We have to also understand. And his potencies and pastimes are differing. So that is an essential aspect. So he collected those, so for sacrifices, one needs to collect flowers, leaves, straw, along with the sacrificial altar and a suitable time, which is springtime. And also you have to get utensils, grains, clarified butter, honey, earth, water, the Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samveda, and the 4 priests to perform the sacrifice. As Lord Brahma is revealing this, it is making us realize that performing sacrifice is such a tough job. While, what is the sacrifice for current age? Hare Nam eva kevalam kala nashteva gatiranyatha. In Brihad Naradiya Puran, it is revealed that the chanting of the holy name, chanting of the holy name, chanting of the holy name can destroy all the ill effects of this Kali age. So we are in this Kali age, and the yajna for this Kali age is Sankirtan yajna. Now sometimes people say, what is the proof given in the Shastras, in the revealed scriptures, that Sankirtan Yajna, the congregational chanting of Mahamantra, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. When we are chanting in the company of devotees, that is the Yajna for this age. So it has been very nicely described in the 12th canto. We'll be covering that in the 3rd chapter, where Shukdev Goswami reveals it to Parikshit Maharaj. Krite tadadhyayate Vishnum Tretayam Yajato Make Dwapare Paricharyayam Kala Tad Hari Kirtana. Krite tadadhyayate Vishnum. In the Krita age, Satyuga, where all the limbs of religion was well established, right? And what are the 4 limbs of religion? Austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. So at that time, in Satyuga, in that age, one could meditate, and it takes tens of thousands of years of meditation for one to be able to see the super soul in the heart. So you're not meditating on something, just in oblivion. You're meditating on the super soul in your heart. So it takes that meditation. So one can attain perfection by meditating in Satyuga. And Tretayam Yajatomake. So here Lord Brahma is talking about the sacrificial arrangements which is in Treta Yuga, right? Where yajna process, by fire sacrifices, one can attain perfection. Then Dwapare Parichayam. In Dwapar Yuga, deity worship, pilgrimage, going on pilgrimage and performing temple worship was prevalent. And Kala Tad Hari Kirtana. In this Kali age, by performing Hari Kirtan, by congregational chanting of the holy name, one can attain all perfection. So this has been very nicely revealed here. And further, Lord Brahma, he continues to reveal that he collected all these ingredients, and all these sages and sadhus, were arranged so that the sacrifice for Vishnu must be performed. So all sacrifices are meant to be performed to please Lord Shri Krishna. And this has been given because that will make us very peaceful. That will make us remove all the anxieties, right? Bhoktaram yagyatapasam sarvalok maheshwaram surhidam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantim richati. Bhoktaram yagyatapasam. So Lord Krishna is the beneficiary of all sacrifices. Sometimes, we talk to some of our co-workers and they say, I'm performing so much sacrifice for my family, for my children. Well, you are making sacrifices, but you are engaging in performing all these sacrifices to material energy rather we should be performing sacrifices to please Lord Shri Krishna and engage everyone in serving Lord Shri Krishna. That should be the motive, that should be the direction we should be looking at. So again, here we should be looking from Krishna, the vision of Krishna conscious. The Krishna conscious vision enables us to see that all our activities are to be dovetailed in pleasing Lord Shri Krishna, because He is the Sarvalok Maheshwaram. He is the supreme proprietor of all material and spiritual universes. Suhridam Sarvabhutanam. He is our best friend, He is our well-wisher, He is a benefactor. And when we know this and we perform accordingly, we act accordingly, then to please Lord Shri Krishna, we become peaceful. And only when we are peaceful, we can be happy. And so here, he continues to describe that Manu is the father of mankind, great sages, forefathers, the learned scholars, the Daityas, the mankind performs sacrifices meant to please the Supreme Lord. So again, Lord Brahma is revealing this. And he further goes on that by his will, it is by Lord Krishna's will that Lord Brahma creates, Lord Shiva destroys this material universe, and Lord Vishnu, he himself, in his eternal form as the personality of Godhead, maintains this spiritual universe. So again, we have to look everything, that everything has been arranged in this material world by the mercy of Lord Shri Krishna and should be used to please Lord Shri Krishna. And now he continues to describe, and what he is going to describe is that while serving Lord Shri Krishna, he is relishing, he is constantly meditating on his various pastimes, even in this material universe. So he, in the next chapter is like the coming attractions. He is giving, just like the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita is the contents of Bhagavad Gita summarized, right? So the next chapter, chapter 7 of second canto, is like an advertisement of coming attractions of the various pastimes and the various incarnations of Lord Shri Krishna. And they have been revealed just, as on a surface, as the names have been identified. And some of the important names, not all names, so that we can relate to them. Yet at the same time, it's enabling us to see that every time, every moment is precious and it is fruitful. If you are interested in return on our investment, then time is money, right? So we should invest our time wisely. And the wisest and the right use of time is to engage in the glories of name, form, activities, pastimes of Lord Shri Krishna. So this is where Lord Brahma is finishing in this particular chapter, saying that he likes to glorify the Supreme Lord, who is unlimited, he is Ananta, right? And so his pastimes are also Ananta, yet devotees like to discuss Lord's pastimes so that they can stay in Krishna consciousness. They can have that vision, they can stay motivated to serve Lord Shri Krishna with love, with gratitude, with devotion. So this is where this chapter ends, and we'll start the next chapter in the next class, chapter 7, where we'll be looking at various incarnations of Lord Shri Krishna and how he is coming to this material world, just like a king goes to visit the jail, right? That doesn't mean that the king has become one of the prisoners. No. If the king is visiting the prison house to see how's the superintendent, of the jail, in our material world, that superintendent is Maya Devi, right? Represented by Durga Devi. So how she is carrying out her ruling. And also when he sees that there's some very nice, residents in that particular jail, then he gives them pardon and allows them to go out to join him when he is outside with general citizens who are always engaged in serving him. So similarly, Lord Krishna, he comes to this material world first to establish the principles of religion, right? Dharma sansthapanarthaya, paritranaya sadhunam is to protect the devotees, and vinashaya dushkritam, and to subdue the miscreants. And he comes himself to show us, gives us a glimpse of the spiritual abode, as how everyone is so happy in serving and pleasing Lord Shri Krishna, so that we become aspired to get out of the clutches of this Maya, get out of the clutches of this birth, death, old age, disease, and we can go back home and be eternally happy. So this is where we would end today's class. Hare Krishna. Granthra Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Bhagavad ki jai, Anant Kori Vaishnava Vind ki jai, Nitaya Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्णा डियर व्यूअर्स, आज प्रभु जी ने हमसे बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट लेसन शेयर किए फ्रॉम कैंटो 2 चैप्टर 6। और इस वक्त इफ यू हैव एनी क्वेश्चंस, प्रभु जी कैन आंसर योर क्वेश्चंस. वी हैव टाइम फॉर फ्यू क्वेश्चंस रिलेटेड टू स्पिरिचुअल लाइफ. यू कैन पोस्ट देम. आई थिंक दे कैन नॉट हियर मी. कैन यू? Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Hare Krishna, dear viewers. You can post your questions on the comments area. I can read them to Prabhuji. And meanwhile, Prabhuji, there is a question from Karuna Sindhu Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Karuna Sindhu Prabhu. Karuna Sindhu Prabhu पूछते हैं, if there is God, how can there be suffering and disease?
Hare Krishna. So, Karuna Sindhu पूछते हैं, प्रभु पूछ रहे हैं कि if there is God, how can there be suffering and disease? Now, this suffering and disease is because of us, because of the activities that we perform, right? So, Lord, He has provided us perfect arrangement where we can continue to be happy. Yet at the same time, thinking that I am this body, right? We perform various activities. And those activities, when they are pious activities, we get good reactions to become happy. And when we do impious activities against the injunctions of the Shastras, then there are negative reactions, there are sinful reactions that we have to suffer. And they are the cause of our suffering. Once a devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, if this material world is dukkhalayam shashvatam, it is a place of misery and temporary nature, why did Krishna create it? So, Srila Prabhupada, he actually became very grave when he responded that actually Krishna did not create this material world or the miseries of this material world. We living entities, he said, you have created, pointing to the devotee, saying that, the conditioned souls have made this material world as it is, as temporary and place of misery. If everyone becomes Krishna conscious, then, it will become Vaikuntha. So there was another question that was raised at another time. One devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, how much of this material world, how many people have to become, what percentage have to become Krishna conscious for this material world to become Vaikuntha? Srila Prabhupada said only 2%. 98% continue to do what they are doing. Just 2% of the population, if they become Krishna conscious, if they become God conscious, then this planet will become Vaikuntha. So it starts with you and me. We have to become Krishna conscious. And that's why there's sufferings, because people are not Krishna conscious, people are not God conscious, and they act against the will of the Lord. And so there are sinful reactions causing suffering, not just to us, but to everyone around us. Hare Krishna, Karuna Sindhu Prabhu. Hopefully this answers your question.
Hare Krishna. We have one more last question. And often devotees wonder that when they are performing devotional service, जब वो भक्ति की एक्टिविटी में एंगेज होते हैं, सर्व कर रहे होते हैं, and unintentionally या intentionally, अगर let us say there is some insect, कीड़ा मकोड़ा रास्ते में आ जाए, and for example अगर आप balls को पेंट कर रहे हैं, and you find कि कोई चींटी है, मकोड़ा है, and you must paint this wall to please Guru, to please Krishna, then attitude क्या होना चाहिए?
We should be careful about anything that's, in our surrounding. There are living entities everywhere, right? So we should be respectful for them. We should take a piece of paper or something to kind of like move it away from the place where we are working, so we don't affect another living entity. Because there will be serious consequences if we are not careful. And that's why, in devotional service, the devotees are more careful than before to make sure that they respect all living entities. Just because somebody has a small body doesn't mean that they are insignificant. Because of their karma, they got that body. But at the same time, they are also very dear to Lord Shri Krishna. So we should be very, very careful when we are dealing with other living entities, including small Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So Prabhuji, we don't have any more questions. Would you like to sing the Namaste Narsingaya Aarti? We can all join together and offer
Hare
the
Krishna.
prayers.
Please join us for Narasimha-Devati. Namaste Narasimhaya, Namaste Narasimhaya, Prahlad Lad Daine, Prahlad Lad Daine, Hiranyakashi Vakshaha, Hiranyakashi Vakshaha, Shilatankanakalaye, Shilatankanakalaye, Yuto Nasingho, Bharato Nasingho, Yuto Nasingho, Bharato Nasingho, Yato Yato Yami Tato Nasingho, Yato Yato Yami Tato Nasingho, Mahi Nasingho, Hridaye Nasingho, Mahi Nasingho, Hridaye Nasingho, Narasimhamadim Sharanam Prapade, Narasimhamadim Sharanam Prapade, Tava Kara Kamalavare Rakam, Adbhuta Shringham, Dalita Hiranyakashipu, Tanu Bringam, Krishavadika, Hari Rupa, Jagadish Hari, Jaya Jagadish Hari, Jaya Jagadish Hari, Tavatar Kamalavare Rakam, Adbhuta Shringham, Dalita Hiranyakashipu, Tanu Bringam, Krishavadita, Hari Rupa, Jagadish Hari, Jaya Jagadish Hari, Jaya Jagadish Hari, Jaya Narasimhadev, Jaya Narasimhadev, Jaya Narasimhadev, Jaya Narasimhadev, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Nitya Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Gaur Hari Bol, Nitya Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Bhakta Vignashak Nrsimhadev भगवान की जय, प्रहलाद महाराज की जय, शीला प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय, निताय गौ प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल। हरे कृष्ण। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, शीला प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय। हरे कृष्ण।